what we need to do, who we need to hire, who we need to retain, how to coach them. And at the same time, it's also building these compelling, inclusive cultures where employees want to stay and they want to work with this company and also grow in the company. So it's time that we think as marketers or strategists or technologists while also staying very deeply human. Now, women in business or leadership in Canada, while Canada has made a lot of great strides with bridging that gap, there is still, there is a lot of gap, especially in women of color or Indigenous women, where they are not in more senior roles. We see them in the organizations, but they're not holding those positions. If you look at any company's boardroom where they're making decisions, you rarely see women there, and it's still there. So even with pay equity, even with all the other great things that are happening, there are a lot of barriers which are subtle, which are systematic, and it is to do with unconscious bias, it is a lack of sponsorship, and a lot of rigid structures. So intentional development is very important for any teams or anything to change. So how do we go about breaking this barrier? So when we talk about policies, where it's like flexibility, whether it's a pay change, whether it's equal pay for equal work, or leadership pathways for women, they're always just considered as nice to have, but it should be the norm and not something that is an exception, right? Giving chances to women, especially in leadership roles, is not something that should be showcased as one in a million. It should be for every woman in the organization. And that is how we're going to break this barrier for women in leadership. So when we talk about today's dynamic landscape, leaders must be the change agents, whether we're navigating AI or the AI backlash that is happening in the US right now, or the economic uncertainty with the tariffs. Clarity and empathy are superpowers. So change fails when communication fails. So if your leader is not communicating properly, that is where you start seeing the changes, and you start seeing that anything that they're bringing on is failure. So we must train our leaders to make sure that they're leading with trust, anticipate resistance, especially in this market, and also model adaptability, not perfection. Because when the employees see the leader is saying that, okay, they made a mistake, but they're learning from it and moving, I think that goes a longer way than being a perfect leader. So when we're talking about the Canadian change mindset, values matter in that. So change is aligned with purpose, and transparency is what's building trust. So top-down strategy must meet the bottom-up input, right? And psychological safety is not just a new buzzword that is being heard. It is really the bedrock of innovation. So when we lead change, we must make sure that our teams believe that their voices matter, their input is taken, and their values are reflected. So when we talk about frontline leadership, so when I talk about it in context of a hotel, where you have all these leaders who are at the front desk, at valet, at guest services in the restaurant, they are really the linchpin of culture, right? Because they are the ones talking with the guests. They are our extension of, say, what a Hyatt hotel is, or what a Westin hotel is, what a Marriott hotel is. And yet we promote them into these roles without really giving them the tools and technology or the training that they really require. So really you're extending your own culture without really preparing them for what is right. So first-time leaders, more than giving them that new title, I think it's very important that they get the mentoring, the training, the support that is really needed for them. These leaders are shaping daily experiences of the guests coming in, or whoever or whatever industry you're in. And they are driving this retention as well as setting the tone for inclusion. So it's very important that you invest in these frontline leaders quite early into their career and not pretty much late. So when we're talking about investing in frontline potential, it really goes from the ground up. Tools like microlearning, AI, even feedback loops like 360 feedback, where managers are giving this feedback. It's very important that these managers get it at the start of the career. creating opportunities for stretch assignments, like in the context of adults, making them available to work at some other brand, other location, to really understand how it makes a change. Equip managers with emotional intelligence and not just KPIs, because that's how they're connecting with people. So an inclusive frontline manager or management really leads to an inclusive organization. And when we talk about entrepreneurship or innovation or sustainability, it is really not optional in Canada anymore. The Canadian entrepreneurs are really dealing with, real world problems. Like clean tech is there, the fintech startups are there. And startups are really the ones which are bringing in the job growth, whether bringing in and, giving jobs to a lot of people who probably never had any experience before. So sustainability is no more called, CSR or putting it on the website saying that, oh, we are now sustainable. It is now a very important factor, and I'm sure, ma'am, you can tell about the MBC where it becomes a very big investment factor if a company is investing into their ESR activity. When we're talking about building a sustainable workforce from an HR perspective, it is very important to really build that initiatives from really the ground up. So when we're talking about inclusive hirings or green sustainability initiatives, like using something that they can, your coasters where you can reuse them or you can plant them into the soil and it creates grass, right? Small things like that make a really big difference. And this is really our moment. We are building for resilience by hiring people who are future-proof. So when we're looking for future-proof skills, what does that mean? It means that people who are adaptable, people who have digital literacy to work with AI and the different softwares as well, and also people who are involved in ethical thinking and ethical hiring, which means bringing in diverse workforce, not having biases. And sustainability, if we think about it, really doesn't start with just technology, it starts with people. So, the end, when we talk about call to action, what do we really want to do? We, as leaders in the market, we really have a choice either to maintain, status quo, or to really lead with courage, with compassion, and with conviction. So, when we're talking about leaders, try and mentor someone who really doesn't look like you. Try and mentor someone who's not the same age as you, and that's where you are going to make, a big change. When we're talking about building agile teams, you need to make sure that the ideas in the boardroom are leading and not the titles. You don't want the VP or the CEO to be talking about ideas, but your front desk agent, your valet attendant, those are the people who really have ideas because they are the ones dealing with guests at the front line, right? And when we're talking about the driving the future of work, it needs to be with equity and sustainability. So that was it for me. Thank you so much.